Hi everyone, today's project is going to be this basic fingerless glove. For this project you will need size 4 or medium thickness yarn. I used Paton's classic wool worsted. Then you will need size 7 double pointed needles, and I used these and also the short ones. I don't have the short ones in bamboo, but I would highly recommend it because I had problem when I was working on a thumb part. It was slipping. You need hook, you need one marker, you will need scissors, and I had this thick yarn which is about 20 inches long. So I cast it on long tail 35 stitches, and the first and last stitch I will knit together when I put my stitches on double pointed needles, because we will be knitting around. The first part of our glove is going to be knit and purl ribbing. Okay, so what we need to do is knit one stitch, purl second stitch, knit one stitch, purl, this is purl, second stitch, knit one, purl two, knit one, purl two. Okay, here I finished entire row of knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl ribbing. Okay, and I'm ready to put it on my circular, not circular needles, but on my double pointed needles, because I like to work with double pointed needles. But if you do want to, you can put it on your circular needle. You can work with circular needle if you wish. And I do have a video where I am showing how to do it, so you can go and click on that video. Okay, I transferred my stitches to needles, which I put 12 here, 12 stitches on this needle, 12 on this one, and I have 11 here, 11 where I have that one stitch that is not knitted. That was the last stitch. Okay, and I made sure that it did not twist in this part and this part where they're connecting, and I will go and connect everything into my circle. And like I said, my last stitch and first stitch are going to be knitted together. I have a little trick that I have shown in the other video, that I twist that one stitch so it becomes a little tighter and connects in a tighter way. Also make sure that your yarn is on the outside and in the back. And I am ready to knit these two together. And I will end up with 34 stitches, which means that I have even numbers, so I will always start with knit and purl and end up with actually purl, which is going to be knitted in a circle. Okay, so we're knitting, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Here I am with my last 3 stitches of second row. You remember we did first row on one needle, and then we transferred on 3 needles, and now I did second row. So I'm finished with second row, and I am starting third row. So I finished with my purl stitch, and I'm starting with my knit stitch. So it's always like that. Now I knitted 20 rows of ribbing. So we still need to knit 18 more rows of knit and purl ribbing, okay? So you go and do that, and I will see you when I will start working on this part right here, okay? So I will knit 18 more rows of ribbing, and then I will show you what to do, how to start this part. So knit and purl, knit and purl. And so I finished my row 20. I have 20 rows here, and now our next step is to knit 5 rows of just knit. I'm sorry, no, 10 rows. We will knit 10 rows from here to here, 10 rows, okay? And it's going to be just knit, because this is just basic without any designs glove, fingerless glove. So we do only knit now, and 10 rows, 10 times around, okay? So knit, 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 and you will just continue 10 rows around just like this. And when I'm finished, I will show you how to start the thumb. So I finished my 20 rows of ribbing and 10 rows of stockinette stitch, okay? And our next step is to make this thumb part, okay? So and this is how we will work. We will actually keep like a gap right here. I had a gap of 3 stitches, and I was adding stitches widening this part. So let me show you how to do that. And we will use also a little marker, so you will need marker like this or similar to that, whatever you want. You can also make one from a yarn if you want, a little tiny circle from yarn. And we will start adding always when you start new row, and this is our beginning of new row. So in here we will make 1 to the right, okay? So this is how we will do it. You will pick the yarn from the back, okay? And then you need to knit. I will lift it up in here, and I will knit 1 under that yarn between the stitches. Okay, so I made 1, and it is, as you see, it's slanted to the right. Okay, and now I will knit my 3 stitches that I said that I will have a gap between the increases. And now we will add our marker on our left needle, and actually what we need to do is knit 1, make 1 left. So we will go from front, and we will actually pick it up, knit through the back loop. Okay, so you will lift it up from front, not from the back, from front, this yarn between the stitches. And like I said, in the back loop right there, okay, you will knit 1. And we increased by 2 stitches on each side of these first 3 stitches, okay? and we move this marker back, and so this is going to be our mark, and finish knitting entire row. Okay, I finished my row, and my next row is knit all stitches. So we increased by 2 stitches, so instead of 34 stitches you should have 36 stitches. And when we increased for the thumb, we will knit, after increasing and finishing up that row, we knit one entire row. So it's going to be always 1 row increase and 1 row knit all the stitches. Okay, here we go. I am back in the beginning of my, as you see, this is my marker for the beginning of my row, and we need to again increase, make 1 which is going to be right slanted. So I told you that we need to go from the back. Okay, I lift it up in here to help myself to be able to put my needle in, and I make 1 by knitting. So I knit it, and now I will knit all my 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I will make 1 left slanted, so we need to go from the front. Okay, we will lift it, the yarn between these stitches, we will lift it up from front, but we will knit here in the back. I am putting my needle in the back through that yarn, and I knit it, and it's left slanted. Move my marker, and then after I finish this row, I knit another row, and then we're ready to increase by 2 stitches again. So in this row we will end up with 38 stitches. So after I increased by 2 stitches again, and for the thumb part I have 7 stitches now. Then after I finished the entire row, I knitted another row of 38 stitches, and I am ready to increase by 2 stitches again with right slanted. So make 1 right slanted, so pick it up from back, okay, and knit it here through in a regular way through the front loop. Okay, and we will knit now 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we will make 1 left, which we have to go from front, pick it up from front, and knit through the back loop. Okay, and move our marker and finish knitting entire row, and then knit another entire row. Okay, so after my increase to 9 stitches for the thumb, I knitted another row without any increase, and I'm ready to increase by 2 more stitches. That means 11 stitches for the thumb part right here. Okay, I will have after I do this. So again, we will pick the yarn between the stitches from the back and knit it in a regular way. So I will lift it up in here so I can put my needle through and knit the stitch, and it's right slanted going that way. And now we will knit 2, 6, 8, 9, 11 stitches. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches. I'm sorry, 9 stitches. And we will have 11 stitches after I'm finished in here. So now I am going to make one left slanted. So I will go from front and knit it through the back loop. Knitting through the back loop is so much easier than through in here, or, you know, make one right. And I will finish again my row and knit another row without increasing. Okay, I am ready to increase for the last time, for the 5th and last time. So we will make one right. So we will pick up the yarn again from the back in between those stitches and then make one and then knit 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And since this is our last increase, we can get rid of our marker because we will not need it anymore. And we need to increase by picking from front in between those stitches and knitting through the back loop. Oops, I'm always moving away from the camera, right? So there we go, and we increased our thumb now by 10 stitches because we had initially 3 stitches, and then when we started increasing on each side of those 3 stitches, so we should have 13 stitches. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is your thumb. All right, and so let's go and finish this row and then knit entire row again. Okay, so after my 5th increase in that row, which was the previous row, and then I knitted one more row without increase. Okay, and now the fun part starts. We will actually transfer those 13 stitches for the thumb to my hook. This is hook size F. These needles are size 9. I will actually say it in everything in the beginning what you need, and also you actually can always read my little description. Okay, so I am transferring right now. As you see, I just move each stitch from this needle, from the left needle onto the hook in my right hand, and I will move all 13 of them to the hook, and you actually are going to be wondering what I'm doing, right? But I think that's it. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. Okay, 13. And now I have actually thick yarn. Take the thickest yarn you can possibly find in at your home and draw it through all these stitches carefully so they don't slip. Okay, you can move it. I am moving my hand back and forth, so I move this little hook part through the stitches, okay, to make sure that it goes through, as you see. Hopefully you see it. Okay, good. Now we have all this. Leave long tails. Okay, leave long tails. And why did I do that? I did it so I can move these stitches together. If this would be on some straight other needle, or if it would be on any stitch holder, it would not be able to bend. Okay, and we need to bend it because now we will start knitting the palm area. This area, that's what we will start knitting right here. We are gonna continue knitting this area. Once we're finished with this area, we will finish knitting our thumb area. Okay, and how do we do that? So we will connect these 3 needles again into circle by bringing them together like this. Okay, and also we are going to move our last stitch. Actually, it would be probably the best if we I can probably actually take that last stitch that I knitted, I will undo it, I will actually move it, I will not knit it. Here you go, I just took it, it was knitted but I took it apart, so my last stitch is next to the last stitch that is knitted, and I moved that last stitch onto this needle, and we will knit this and this stitch, the stitch from this from the right needle that we placed here, we will actually knit it with the first stitch. So last stitch, knit with first stitch. Okay, this is going to actually help to close the gap in here. We're not gonna have a big hole in here, that's why I'm doing it. Okay, and now we will knit several rows, and I have to count my rows, so hold on 1 second. Okay, so I counted my rows. I forgot how many rows I did, and we will knit 8 rows. So starting here, after you knit these 2 edges, first and last stitch together, you will knit 8 rows all around. 8 rows. So when I knit 8 rows, I will show you how to continue again. Okay, so you go and knit 8 rows all around to get, all around. I finished my 8 rows of knit, just knit all around 8 rows, and now I am ready to do my ribbing. And I did 4 rows of knit, purl, knit, purl, and 4 rows, and then I bind off. Okay, and by the way, I have 30 stitches right here. So right now we are going to do knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and do 4 rows. 4 rows of knit and purl. Here I am finished with my 4 rows of ribbing, and I'm ready to bind off. And this is how you bind off. I do have a video also how to bind off, but here is a quick example. So I knit first stitch, knit next stitch, and then transfer or pull this first stitch over the second knitted stitch. Now this one becomes first stitch, and again knit and pull that one over, and knit and pull the one over the knitted stitch. And this is, I'm doing it with the needles, but you can also do it with hook, and here it is with hook, exactly the same. you knit the stitch with the hook, and then instead of dropping it off and putting it over, you can actually do it a little quicker by knitting the stitch and pulling it immediately through the stitch that was previously on, okay, and then drop off the stitch from the needle. So you do it like this and then drop this thing off the needle. So bind off your glove and cut off the yarn, and then we will work on our thumb. Okay, I'm binding off my last stitches. I also wanted to say, don't bind off too tight. Don't do this like you would make it really tight, because then the edge would be really narrow and very tight. You would not be able to put your fingers through. So I usually make sure that it's not, you know, this stitch doesn't become too tight. So very loosely, bind off very loosely, and when you're finished with your last stitch, then what you need to do is, you see how you have a gap in here between the last and first stitch. So what I do usually is put my hook through the first stitch and connect that gap, make that gap be invisible. So I draw a yarn through the through that first stitch, and then through the last stitch, and one more, and then cut off the yarn. Okay, now the last part is to work on our thumb, and since I was working actually with these long ones, they're 10 inches long, the thumb is really short, so I'm gonna use my shorter needles, same size 7, okay. And what we need to do is transfer all these stitches onto my and we have 13 of them, and we will actually do the same thing what we did over there. We will knit first and last stitch together, so at the end we will have 12 stitches. So let's go and distribute it between 3 needles, which is going to be 4 stitches, and one needle is going to have 5 stitches. So this is how I do it. I will put my needle through first 4 stitches, then lift it up a little bit so you don't poke into the blue one, or you know, your other whichever yarn you will use. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's 8, and we should have 5 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now okay, here you see I poked in there in that blue one, so make sure it's not. Put it in the middle, because the these are metal, so they will actually probably slide a little bit, but so be careful. And now we can actually try to pull the yarn out. So let's start here between the needles. We will pull this yarn. Oops, okay, this is not what I wanted to happen. Okay, it's not all out, so probably the best thing is to hold the needle while you're pulling it out. Now hold these both needles. Let's go and make it like this. Hold these 2 needles at the same time. Okay, and pull it slowly out so it doesn't fall out. Well, this was actually a good example, so you can learn from my mistakes. Okay, so now it's not going to twist, and we need to connect. That's why I like to work actually with the bamboo double pointed needles. Okay, and let's start working on these, on this thumb. So let's move the fifth stitch from the last needle onto the first needle, because we want to knit them together. And be careful so your other needles don't fall out. Okay, so I am getting into position of starting to knit. So I put my needle through first and last stitch to knit it together, and here is my starting end. And what I will do actually is I will twist it together like this, okay, and pull it through, holding those needles a little bit too so they don't slide. Okay, so I pulled through the first two stitches, and now knit entire row. Knit, and I'm making it a little tighter, okay? Alright, so now I can let go of that end. I hope I'm not lifting my knit too much, too high out of the lens. And knit this one. This is falling, this needle. Okay, so let's go and knit the second needle. And I'm making it tighter so it doesn't slide, okay? And now the last needle. Knit, 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 and knit. Okay, and now after we knit it entire row, and you see it's not so, we don't have a huge gap in here. I hope I showed it well. And now we will do 4 rows of knit and purl. So this is our first stitch, and we will do, and I made it really tight, so we will knit one more time, knit this stitch. Okay, I got it. Make it tight so it connects, okay? And purl, knit and purl. Knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. And our first row is finished, and now 3 more rows knit and purl. And so I'll see you when I'm finished with my 3 rows. Alright, I'm finished with my 4 rows of ribbing, and I am ready to bind off the same way like I bind off this area. So I knit first 2 stitches, and then the first one I place over my second stitch. This becomes first stitch, knit second, place, pull 1 over the second. Okay, and do that with all the stitches. Okay, this is our last one, and like I said, I usually go into the first stitch and then I finish it up so it doesn't have big gap. And I made a knot here and cut this off. And now we are finished with our glove. And what we are going to do is we will clean up all these tails. This one I can cut off because I was knitting with it, and clean up this one. So here are our gloves and finished, which they really make beautiful gift also. And it's great actually when you're typing on your computer and this area gets cold in the winter time, and you know, if your house is not as warm. And also subscribe if you want, because there are a lot more projects that I like to work or coming your way. Thank you for watching. Go visit my blog. I post usually most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time I post written patterns. So I will be posting written pattern for these gloves. If you would like to go and follow it by written word. And that's about it. Have a good day. Happy knitting. See you later.